Welcome back to Seeds, where we talk about the basics of our Christian faith, the basics of living and walking out this thing called Christianity. My name's Andy. This is
Summer Christie.
Summer Christie, and we have been your host for the last few episodes. We've talked a lot about what happens when you get saved. How do you get saved? We've talked a lot about what happens after you get saved, right? And so you go up, you say your magical prayer, and then what happens? And then last week we hit into a little bit about what happens when it doesn't all get better, right? What happens when things don't go the way that we want them to go and everything doesn't get magically fixed? And one of the answers to that question, Summer, is this whole concept about friendship, right? That one of the ways that we walk out this Christian life is with friends, right? So when you think of friendship, what is the Summer Christie definition of friendship?
Oh man, that's a really long answer. But, I've been deconstructing this love thing in my head and how we are supposed to love people and whether or not that's supposed to look different for different people in your life. And what I'm finding as I'm studying my Bible more and more and more is that I don't think it really should look different, from friendships to family to church people to non-church people. Even with our spouse, like obviously we have a special thing with our spouse that they get, parts of us that other people don't. But as far as how we love people, I think friendship should look just like those relationships. We should be vulnerable. We should be giving. We shouldn't be putting ourselves first. And we should love them the way that Christ loves us.
So we talk about not having a hierarchy of sin, right, all the time. You're promoting that maybe we shouldn't have a hierarchy of friendship,
or
right?
love.
But again, the playing the devil's advocate, they're going to say to you, but Summer, Jesus had these 3 people that he was really close with, and then he had 12 people, and then he had 72 people, and then he had thousands of people. So even Jesus had those that he was closer to than other people. So what do you say about that?
Well, yes. I mean, he obviously had people that he was closer to, but he didn't love anyone differently, right? Like we still have different relationships with people. We click differently with different people. We have different personalities and interests and things like that. My husband loves to golf and has his best golf friends. I don't, so we don't do that together. We have different things, but we don't love each other differently amongst those people. Love is not just a feeling. We like to assign love as just a feeling. And love biblically is an action. It's something that we do for people.
So you're differentiating. You say, listen, there is this concept about doing life with different people, right? And that's going to look different. We can't do the same amount of life with people, right? We may want to treat everybody the same and schedule it all out into little 30-minute blocks, and I'll give you this one, and I'll give you this one and this one, but we can't do that, right? But the difference is through all of that, we intertwine love, and that's what we should be focusing on, is that no matter how much time I'm having with you, I want to love you well in that time.
Right.
So when we look at friendship, you've defined what you think it is. There are people now listening going like, whoa, way too much. Like I don't even understand where you're going with that. So before we go off into other things, tie in this whole love thing with friendship. So you've defined friendship. I guess you're going to have to define love for us as well.
Well, the Bible uses a lot of words for that, right? And you have to read I'm going to pitch reading your Bible to people. You have to figure out what that looks like to God, because to us, the way that we love people is skewed. And really, biblically, I mean, to sum it up, it is selflessness. Like we don't put our preferences first. It's not about fitting you into my thing, and there's vulnerability in that, but it's about putting the other person first and giving them what they need most when they don't deserve it at great personal cost. Right. So to me, it doesn't matter if it's friendship or anything. It's you give them what you want. You give them what you want from Christ. You show them that love that we are commanded to show. And God says, right, if you love me, you love my people. Yeah. If you love me, you feed my people. you can't not love people and love God. So you have to give everyone those things that we all need ourselves.
So we've defined friendship for you. Summer's defined also love. Her definition of love. You can agree with that. You can disagree with that. You can do whatever you want with it. But I think she's pretty close to spot on with that whole thing, right? But now we take those two things and now we enter into the Coliseum of friendships, right? So now all of a sudden we walk out into the world, we're doing life with people. How do we develop friendships that are going to actually benefit us as Christians?
I think the hardest thing that we need to do first is we need to be vulnerable. Like we talked about this in church, about how we are kind of good at doing that, like when we're looking for a spouse. Like we'll put ourselves out there to get hurt, and we get hurt a couple times, and we do it enough to get a spouse, but we don't do that with friends. Like we catch a spouse and then we close up and we kind of just have our little life bubble. And I don't think that we open ourselves up like that for other people. And I think it's in doing those loving things for people that make us vulnerable, because then we tend to expect things back when we do things for people.
Okay,
and then
so
we get hurt.
are you saying that I take my good friend and our producer Patrick, right, out to lunch, right? And we've not spent a lot of time together. We've not done a lot of lunches together. But I take him to lunch and we start talking, and all of a sudden, poof, I just dump all of my past on him and tell him everything I've ever done wrong, right? And just like, here it all is. Here's who I am, Patrick.
No, that's what you don't do on a first date with a potential spouse or a friend. That scares humans away.
So are you talking about, because I love what you just said, are you talking about developing friendships in such a way that we actually view it as more of like a first date?
Yeah, maybe.
So give me some insight onto what you would expect on a first date.
Well, again, you be you, right? But we're not trying to put on a show. We don't want to try to catch something, right? We don't want to be selfish. We're supposed to be trying to love other people. So, I mean, we do need those Christian friends. So I feel like it's the same kind of thing. You can go into it, but you if you go in and you dump all your past on someone, that's being selfish. You know, you're like, hey, here's all my junk. Take it and deal with it. So, no, that's not something I would recommend that you start off doing with people, but just thinking about loving everyone around us, whether we know them intimately or not, or want to or don't want to, we have to treat them all the same.
And so part of going into a friendship, though, is that when Patrick and I go to lunch, it's not just about me dumping all of my stuff, whatever's appropriate on him.
Right.
It's also about allowing him to dump some of his stuff on me, right?
Exactly.
That it has to be a two-way street. If I really want to develop a friendship, it's not a one-way street.
Right, exactly. You care about them first.
Excellent. Well, listen, obviously you all know that we just started this conversation, and Summer and I are super qualified to talk about this conversation, and we're going to continue to talk about this idea of friendship and how they help us walk and what it means to have a good friend. So you're going to want to pay attention to seeds for this whole concept of friendship. We'll see you the next time. Anything in the freaking world, I'm gonna